역시 칼이 유용해. 야, 이제
Number 1, the United States.
How they're seeing it, and also video games. I'm hearing more and more people say the level of violence on video games is really shaping young people's thoughts.
Yeah, right. Playing Roller Coaster Tycoon shaped me to dream about building a roller coaster that drowned 76 people at once. Come on, Trump. We already discussed this, and you know that has no connection. Even a researcher who studied violent video games for 15 years says there's no evidence between violence and video games. Well, even before Trump, they had been targeting video games for affecting the young minds.
Violent video games.
What about the violence in our video games?
The depiction of these assault weapons again and again.
Violence, the realism that you find in games and movies.
The corrosive influence of a violent-oriented world.
I say it's more about bad parenting and gun control.
With all of that, I just think there's a question of parental authority, and I think it's a question of how we as a society choose to raise our kids, not necessarily a question of governmental regulation. And the problem I have with the president getting involved is whether this is going to be a cultural issue or is this a regulatory issue? Is this an issue where the president...
However, the increasing number of school shootings led public attention to video games in the US, increasing tension to the gamers and the industry. What's more, World Health Organization, also known as WHO, has proposed gaming addiction in a classification to mental health disorder, without any direct evidence whatsoever. But you know what, America? Video games merely reflects the reality we live in. Maybe that's why video games are so violent and cruel. Think about that. Number 2, China. To begin with, China has been building and fortifying the Great Firewall for a long time. The government controls every single IP address inside of China, blocking porn, Google, Facebook, YouTube, such as movies and even animes like One Piece. It goes all the way back to Mao Zedong when he illegalized fictions and plays for the productivity of China. And now the tradition continues on with video games. I mean, game consoles such as PlayStation were illegal until 2015. Today, a bunch of video games that reflect capitalism, sexuality, drugs, and obscenity are blocked in China. That includes PUBG, Grand Theft Auto, and Black Desert. Even though VPN was used to play these games, in 2017, the new congressman enhanced the regulation on internet bypassing. Now in 2018, Chinese National People's Congress met for a conference, and they voted on the effects of the video games for children. 9 congressmen out of 10 said video games were harmful, saying, "Game addiction needs to be regulated. It is like drugs. And we shouldn't sacrifice our generation because of video games." Wow, are you serious, really? The only congressman who said they should look at the bright side was the CEO from Tencent. So we never know what's going to happen for the gaming community in China. Fingers crossed. Number 3, Korea. Now we move on to the big gaming powerhouse, Korea. Many of the best esport gamers come from this country, but the immense popularity of video games did cause some deaths in internet cafes, resulting in the government stepping in. Even before WHO came up with recognizing game addiction as a disease, Korea did the same thing even earlier than that in 2013. According to the new law, game addiction was categorized the same with drugs and alcohol addiction. Later, with much public outrage, the government abandoned the law in 2016. However, even now the shutdown law still forbids a minor to play any video games from midnight to 6 a.m. The law is also known as Cinderella Law, and it's a shame for a country that has so many talented esports stars. This is what CEO of Blizzard Entertainment, Michael Mobirum, commented on while visiting Korea.
Well, I have an interesting story. A few years ago, one of the Korean gamers who was a minor was playing in a tournament in France. And due to the time zone difference, the player was actually disconnected from his game because it crossed the boundary of the shutdown law, and he had to forfeit his match. The interesting thing about this is, for the first time, folks outside of Korea were exposed to some of the regulations that exist inside Korea, which are very different than regulations everywhere else in the world. And I think to an outside observer, it feels a little strange for the place that has the strongest esports industry in the world, with the strongest, most talented players, to have such regulations which really seem to hamper the industry and make it more difficult for growth of the industry.
So we looked at the 3 countries' political viewpoint in video games today. Please share your thoughts and let us know if you agree or disagree with these laws below. Until next time, skibby-boo-boo!